Are you into crafting, wargaming, or Gundam? How about all three? In this video, I'm going to assemble some new Gundam Assemble minis and take their boring gaming bases and turn them into little displays that tell more of a story and make them more fun to look at and play with. This video is meant to inspire you. When I bought this hobby mat, it was perfect. Now, it looks like Whistler's mother. I got my hands on 2 more packs of Gundam Assemble miniatures and kind of forgot what was in them. It had been a while since I ordered them and they did not come in the packaging. In case you missed my first Gundam Assemble video, these minis are sent out in a promo combo box with cards from the Gundam Card Game, Gundam Card Game. And whoever I ordered these from in Japan has inverse interests in gaming that I do. They kept the cards and sent the minis, which is fine by me. It's not as fun to make a kit-bashed diorama base for a trading card. These minis clearly have the engineering expertise of Bandai behind them. Also, let's talk about something real quick. I've been roasted in the comments for my pronunciation of Bandai. People think I'm mispronouncing the A as an O. But after hearing a lot of Japanese people say it, I'd say that while I may err on the side of an O, most pronunciations I've heard err on the side of A. From what I can tell, Bandai is just as incorrect of a pronunciation. If you disagree, you can aggressively let me know in the comments. At this point, the assembly was done, and they were looking pretty cool. But you know what could make them look even cooler? Some custom gaming bases and paint. So that's what we're going to do next. I didn't have a specific plan in mind for any of these bases, but I did have a bunch of bits and materials at my disposal and my imagination. Also, I didn't end up using any of these aircrafts here. I found these online. They are in 1:350 scale, which is pretty close to Gundam Assemble. And it's actually surprisingly difficult to find vehicles in that scale. I may potentially use these for some terrain features in the future. First mini at bat was this Gray's Custom. For his base, I decided to have him standing on some kind of debris from a crashed ship. That's like an engine that I borrowed from an X-Wing model. I wanted it to be sticking out of the ground a little bit, so I cut more or less half of it off. I could sit on the base like so. And his feet are on the same plane, so I needed to build up the other side of the base so that he would stand level. I did that using some corkboard. I patched up the gaps, leveled things out with some mud effects from AK. And once everything had been blended together, I glued the mobile suit in place. It was time to move on to the next mini, which was the GQUX Gundam. I found these MS custom armor pieces in the Gunpla section at my local hobby store and decided that, scaled down, these would make for a very fun floating space platform. I used the pattern of the diamond shapes to create some floating bits drifting off from the main platform, which I suspended from rods either mounted to the base or the underside of the platform. The idea here is that the motion of the base is following the motion of the Gundam itself. Next up is the Red Gundam, and you'll see why they call him that in a few minutes. He came in this lunging position, and I thought it would be cool to have him counterbalanced off a large mechanical beam or piece of artillery like he was leaping toward his opponent. The large piece at the bottom and the 2 on the sides are also pieces that came from that MS custom builder armor set. Next up was Barbados. I'm just kidding, I know it's Barbatos. Barbitos. Either way, the mobile suit is administering a hefty amount of force with a strike from its mace, and I thought, why not show that with a bit of destruction in the base itself using more corkboard. I chipped and cracked that and gave it the same mud effects treatment as the Gray's Custom. And finally, it was time for Difredo, who's in a very theatrical pose. I used the first 2 ring sections of this computer fan cover, so I figured a stage-like base would be more than appropriate. I used some plastic mesh that I found online and cut it out to back the platform. Stuff was sold as a speaker screen or something like that. Gave the platform some elevation from the base using a styrene rod, and then I glued the Gundam in place, as well as some round greeblies from a model train scenery set. And I think maybe they worked the wrong direction in establishing scale, but oh well. Finally, I glued more of those armor pieces in place for continuity's sake between some of the bases, and that was it for the basing. It was time to clean up the workstation. You may have noticed that I skipped the mobile workers. That's the little guys on the left there. But they already came with a scenic base of their own. The next step was, of course, to start painting. I gave everything a priming coat from the airbrush. And I actually really didn't like the original approach that I took to most of these priming layers. So I will be fixing those as I go over the next few minutes. And as you can see here, I did paint the red Gundam red. My mistake with the Grays custom was to give it a white prime and then paint on the color with a brush, which could have been a good idea, but I flipped the color locations in my head. I thought that the shoulders were the green part. Then I looked at my reference. It probably would have been easier to prime the whole thing green and then paint the white by hand. For G-Fred here, I decided to go back and prime with color, as it will be primarily purple, at least in the undertones. I then reprimed the other primarily white suits with black, as I will be adding a zenithal to those in a minute. While I was looking at painting references for the Barbatos, I saw that in his fourth phase, and maybe others, he has a red cape, which is really cool. Nobody else in my collection has a red cape, so why not make one? I broke out some 020 styrene. I traced and cut that down into a little triangle, and then I frayed the bottom with an X-Acto knife. And then I held it over a heat gun, which causes it to fold and bend like fabric. The styrene quickly hardens again and holds its new shape after it's taken away from the heat. So after just a few minutes of playing around, I came up with something I was happy with. It's kind of a funny thought to see a cape on a giant robot, but at the same time, it's super cool. I went ahead and painted that red in sub-assembly. This will keep any of that red color from overspraying onto the white armor. With that done, I went back and finished the priming with zenithal highlights, going white on black for the G-Quux, the Barbatos, and the mobile workers, and then I applied ice yellow over the red Gundam and the G-Fred. With that done, it was time to fully jump into the detail work with a brush and a wet palette. I've been mixing up my paints on the fly from the primaries in most of my mini painting recently, so I paired up two minis that had a lot of colors in common. That way I could jump back and forth between them with the same color while it was mixed and ready on the palette. Unfortunately, the paint that I was working with multiple times either dried up or ran out, and I was forced to mix up more. Which actually wasn't a problem. I just wanted to make that sound a little bit more dramatic than it actually was. As you can see, I'm just pretty much painting with the primaries straight from the bottle. I'm not the first to say this, but the painting sections of crafting videos are notoriously difficult to narrate. If I just described to you what was happening on screen, the redundancy would almost certainly drive you mad. After wrapping up the details on the mobile suits, I moved down to the bases. For this, I used thinner paints and looser brush strokes. Basically, the idea is to just mix up all the paints on the palette, thin them with water, and then add a little bit of ice yellow as you go to build up a gradient. After gluing the cape in place, it was time to move on to the red Gundam. And don't let the name fool you, there is a lot more going on here than just red. There's also a really dark gray and a lighter shade of red. After painting the little red insignia on the shield, I moved over to the beam saber. And now that I'm looking back on it, it would have been a good opportunity to do some OSL. There are definitely parts of his body that are close enough to receive some of the light. Maybe I'll go back and do that at a later time. After the beam saber, I moved down to the base and gave it pretty much the same treatment as the previous two. Find whatever color happens to be in the center of your palette, water it down, and make it lighter. Next up were the mobile workers, who got a quick coat of paint as well, and while they are fun little guys, they're not quite as fun little guys as the other guys. Mostly because of their existing base, but I realize now I could have made them their own custom base. I didn't have to go with this one. Oh well, I'll think about that for next time. I brought back the Gray's custom, because earlier I did not finish his base, but I hit that with some earthy tones and then some green for the engine, and then I applied an enamel pin wash for some weathering. I liked how that looked, so I moved back to the red Gundam's base and did the same thing. The last mini to paint was the G-Fred, who, like I said earlier, also got a zenithal highlight of ice yellow off camera. This suit definitely has the most unique and widest variety of colors represented of the bunch. which is why I saved it for last. I just wanted to be able to focus on getting each of the details in place at a nice, enjoyable pace. And if you look closely, you'll probably see that some of the colors are incorrect or in the wrong spots. But I wouldn't be able to tell if I didn't have a photo reference, so I'm not too worried about it. The base, of course, got the quick and cavalier method, and the third to last step was to tie all of the paint jobs together, as well as tie them into my previous round of minis by giving them some light glazes of red and blue with the airbrush primarily focused at the bottom. I went a little heavy with the colors in a few places, which I had to go back and touch up, but otherwise the effect was great. The second to last step was to add some pigment powder to the bases and a couple of the feet of these minis. This is the same colored pigment powder that I used on my previous minis as well. And I may have to update these bases and turn them to hexes eventually so that they're usable on the game board. We'll solve that problem when we get to it. The last thing to do was to paint the sides of these little dioramas with black. Just plain black. After that, I called it good. If you didn't catch my last Gundam Assemble video, you should definitely check that out next. Otherwise, that is it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Huge shout out, as always, to my patrons. You guys are the best. Have an awesome week, everyone. I'll see you next time.